Hello, friends. I'm Maria La Sala, the Spiritual Care Coordinator at Whitney Center. Greetings to you as we welcome this time of rest and renewal. And we sure could use some rest from the news of these past weeks. And yet, a new day is coming. I'm grateful that we can take this time to be still, to pause, and to reflect on our week and on our lives filled with so many good things. I'm also grateful to Kevin Mack for his humor, his gift of song and story and prayer. May the words that have sustained people from generation to generation bring hope and comfort to us today. Kevin, will you now help us to welcome the Sabbath?
I would be honored to, Maria. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thanks again to Kathy Smock for recording us. And thanks to all of you for allowing me to enjoy welcoming Shabbat with all of you. We have much to do today, so we should begin by taking up our Sidurim that hopefully you have beside you and turning to page 2, and we welcome Shabbat with the Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Eyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei Eyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitekhem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei Eyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On the top of page 3, we can recite together, Draw near, eternal God, as working day turns to Sabbath rest. You have been with me all the week, and yet I have forgotten you, God of my hope and my salvation. Now, kindling these lights, I saw your name, remembering the love you have shown to me. And in gratitude and thanks, I turn to you to bathe my hungry soul in your kindness. Light the Shabbat candles. And we bring the Spirit, as evidenced in this beautiful flame, to our hearts and souls as we chant, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat. We praise you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe. You have made us holy by your mitzvot and have commanded us to kindle the Shabbat lights. May we be blessed with Shabbat joy. May we be blessed with Shabbat peace. May we be blessed with Shabbat holiness. We continue with the Shehechianu, the prayer of joy and thankfulness for having reached this and every season. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen. We welcome the Shabbat bride now, as we always do on these services. We turn to page 4 and we sing Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamayuchad, Adonai echad, U'shmo echad, Shemur tiferet v'li tehila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcham, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikerem nesucham. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit'oreri, hit'oreri, Kiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, Kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola. Toch emunei am segula, Boi chalak, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. We turn now to page 5 and enter the body of our service. And on page 5, we find the Baruch Hu, the Shema, and another prayer as well. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai, you love your people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael means we praise you, Adonai, you love your people Israel. In the Shema, hear, O Israel, the eternal is our God, the eternal is one. Blessed is God's glorious realm forever and ever. On page 6, we have the Ve'ahavta, a prayer, a daily prayer, that is from Deuteronomy and Numbers. And we should probably best speak the English first and then chant the Hebrew. You shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecham, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, uv'shochbecha, uv'kumecha, u'ketar sham le'ot ha'yadecha, v'hayu l'totofot b'neinecha, u'chetavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Naman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liyot lachem l'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. We continue from Exodus 15, which is getting awfully close to our Torah portion for this week, with the Mi Chamocha that we find in the middle of page 6. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elem, nora tehilot osef elem, malechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam, לפני משה זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך Ata Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Who is like you, Eternal One, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, doing wonders? In their escape from the sea, your children saw your sovereign might displayed. This is my God, they cried. The Eternal will reign forever and ever. And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. We continue at the top of page 7. We have gathered in our spaces to celebrate Shabbat together. Our ancestors created Shabbat to be an island of quiet in a tumultuous and frantic world. Once each week, we are invited to pause and set aside our routines that we might refresh our spirits and renew within us that vision of our highest self. Through Sabbath rest and worship, we are called upon to remember that we alone have the power to create a life that transcends the ordinary. In these moments of quiet, we reflect upon the meaning of our lives. So take a moment, perhaps an extra moment this week, for a little reflection. We continue with the prayer of Vishamru, a happy prayer, and the text is as follows. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, but on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל לא תהי לעולם, לא תהי לעולם. אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. On page 8, we have another opportunity to do some collective reflection. And you're welcome to speak as much of the text as you wish, or just reflect. Oh my God, my soul's compassion, my heart's precious friend, I turn to you. In the silence of my innermost being, in the fragment of my yearned for wholeness, I hear whispers of your presence. Echoes of the past when you were with me, when I felt your nearness, when together we walked, when you held me close, embraced me in your love, laughed with me in my joy. I yearn to hear you again. In your oneness, I find healing. In the promise of your love, I am soothed. In your wholeness, I too become whole again. Please listen to my call. Help me find the words. Help me find the strength within. Help me shape my mouth, my voice, my heart, so that I can direct my spirit and find you in prayer. In words only my heart can speak. In songs only my soul can sing, lifting my eyes and heart to you. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, open my lips, precious God, so that I can speak with you again. Balancing the need for reflection is the need for joyful acclamation. And that's what we have here on page 9 with Yismechu. The translation is, those who keep Shabbat and call it a delight shall rejoice in your deliverance. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of creation. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomare, shomare, shomare Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomare, shomare, shomare Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadoshi, mekadoshi shevi Shabbat. Kulam yisbeu v'yitanhu mituvecha Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemda diyamim, oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. We now come to page 10 and one of a number of prayers for peace. Always, unfortunately, so relevant to our existence. The first is Shalom Rav. Bring complete and lasting peace to Israel, your people. For you are the master of peace who rules over all. Let it be good in your eyes to bless Israel, your people, every season, every hour with your peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, v'chol ein u'v'chol sha'ah Ishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha, Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. This next prayer that we find at the bottom of 10 is of a particular note because of contemporary events. And I'm reminded of growing up in San Francisco at a very large synagogue. I may have mentioned it before. Not quite as large as Temple Emmanuel in New York, and a Byzantine construction, Temple Emmanuel in San Francisco, is pretty much the cornerstone, literally and figuratively, I think, of Reform Judaism on the West Coast. And I had the privilege of growing up there. And I remember for Shabbat services, again, this is a Reform, very high classic Reform service, that for a prayer such as this, almost word for word identical, the organist, and they had a large pipe organ there, Ludwig Altman of blessed memory, a very fine concert organist he was too, would play in the background the strains of America the Beautiful. That's never left me, and every time I've spoken it for Whitney Center or anywhere else, it's always been in the back of my mind, and it seems as appropriate or more appropriate now than ever. Grant us peace, your most perfect gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may always be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands. And may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Blessed is the eternal God, source of peace. We come now, somewhat appropriately, I think, to our thoughts of others and our fervent wish for their good health and recovering from sickness in mind or body or spirit, particularly mind and spirit. Those are the ones that are not so obvious but are so crucially important, particularly as we think of the world around us and some of the confinements that we need to endure. So we keep all of those in our prayers, including ourselves, certainly, who are facing difficult times. And you're welcome at this time to speak aloud or silently the names of those who are unwell in your world. Perhaps we can hear them as well, and certainly the Almighty can. We continue with the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing, found towards the middle of page 11. Misha Berach Avotenu, Mekor HaBracha Beimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of strength, and let us say, Amen. We continue with the Oseh Shalom, found at the bottom of the page. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. You're welcome to put your sidurim down for a couple of moments. And we have now the second reading in the book of Exodus, Shemot. This particular reading is Va'era, and that's Exodus chapter 6, verse 2 through chapter 9, verse 35. And I guess perhaps only rivaled by the book of Genesis, the book of Exodus has so much going on. It's really quite remarkable. And this is one of the most picturesque and powerful of all of the readings in Exodus. Here are the headlines for this reading. First, God's call to Moses and Aaron to fulfill God's plan. And also in the passage is a recollection of their priestly lineage. It seems really quite out of place, this priestly lineage, until you realize that it essentially sets them up to be God's instrument. And it really is it's a lovely passage. The second is, and you of course recall from years of reading the passage and the two Cecil B. DeMille films, and if you haven't seen the first one, the silent one, oh, please do so, because it's just as powerful as the second, though different. Moses' rod, which becomes a servant, accosts and eats the rod serpents of the magicians that were sent to mock and rival Moses. And then finally, and how can we forget, we can recall this from Passover. I have the wine, but logistically it might be a little tough. But we have the first 8 of the 10 plagues. So maybe I can, I guess, motion. And those 8 plagues are, and you're welcome to join me, dam, blood, tzfardeah, frogs, kinim, lice, arov, wild beasts, dever, pestilence or plague, shechin, boils, barad, hail. And unfortunately, I won't be with you for next week's reading, which of course completes the set of 10. And it's very easy, particularly given the events of late, to dwell on violence and evil and other such things, and not lose sight of the ultimate good that is ours. So here's a slightly different sermon or drosh than you might possibly expect. We can entitle it Moses, a Very Human Leader. Amram married Yocheved, and she bore him Moses and Aaron. That's from Exodus 6. I alluded to this before with the priestly lineage. It is interesting that even though we all know Moses and Aaron are, before the Torah begins to recount the 10 plagues in Egypt, we need to be told about their birth. Further, we are told that their father eventually dies and that Moses and Aaron both die a natural death. One of the ideas behind this is that the Torah is concerned that people may start believing that Moses and Aaron are divine and that they were the source of the miracles. The Torah wants us to remember that ultimately God is the creator and source of all life and all that's in it. Furthermore, the Torah points out their shortcomings and mistakes, reinforcing the notion that no person is divine and infallible, none. Moses and Aaron were chosen as the medium through which God brought his blessings to the world. They were not the source. We should all remember that whatever blessings we have, we are just the conduit through which God has chosen to bring those blessings to the world. just as Moses is described as the most humble man who ever lived. We shouldn't get carried away with our successes, whatever they may be. We just need to remember and appreciate how truly lucky we really are. Shabbat Shalom. We take up our Sidurim once more. We turn to page 12, and we chant the Aleinu that we find at the top of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You spread out the heavens and established the earth. You are our God, there is none else. In truth, you alone are our sovereign God. As it is written, know then this day and take it to heart. The Eternal One is God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else. You're welcome to join me if you have not before. Eternal God, we face the morrow with hope, made stronger by the vision of your deliverance. A world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate are gone. Teach us more and more to respond to the pain of others, to heed your call for justice, that we may bring near the day when all the world shall be one. On that day, the age-old dream shall come true. On that day, O God, you shall be one and your name shall be one. V'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech ha'kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh harai echad u'shemo echad. And now we turn to those who are no longer with us as we contemplate the cycle of life. The cycle of life is so large, it's really almost as incomprehensible as infinity or the concept of God or so many other things. But come to terms with it, we must. We think of our successors, when we think of our predecessors, hopefully with great love and fondness. It is, after all, through their memory that they continue to live, as the prayer that we're going to be reciting soon will say to us. At Whitney Center, we remember because the time of Shloshim is not quite yet up. Charles Sterling, Norma Bisetsky, and I understand from Maria's good offices that we have lost on the 4th of January, Sol Teichman and Bruce Burns. Of course, may their memory be for a blessing. We think about all those, again, whom we have lost, and the art sites, the years, the anniversary of the years of dearest ones passing. And we rise, if we are able, to affirm life with the recitation of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, Amen. Ve'alma divrach yurute, ve'amich malachute, chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed kol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kari ve'emiru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach l'alam al me'al maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yit-romam v'yit-naseh, v'yit-hadar v'yit-halev v'yit-halal shmei d'kudashah, barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbachata v'rechamata da'imiran be'anma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rava min shemaya v'chaim. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. And that text means in English, let the glory of God be extolled, and God's great name be hallowed in the world whose creation God willed. May God rule in our own day, in our own lives, and in the life of all Israel, and let us say, Amen. Let God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter is the Holy One, the Blessed One, whom yet we glorify, honor, and exalt. And let us say, Amen. For us and for all Israel, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign among us, all Israel, and all the world. And let us say, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. On the next page of your Sidurim, actually the next couple of pages, I guess, on page 15, we have this wonderful prayer in the form of a poem, We Remember Them. And you're welcome to recite it with me as much as you wish. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. And now we should take a moment to greet Shabbat with your neighbor, either present in your dwelling or perhaps in thought. But greet them, and if you can, if there's something that you're particularly happy about, if not now, maybe in the next 1 or 2 or 3 or so weeks, then share that happiness and that gratitude. Don't be stingy. And we now continue with Kiddush and Motzi. And for Kiddush, almost like the days are lengthening just a little bit. I don't know if it's wishful thinking, but it seems to me that the days are lengthening just a bit from December 21st. These little silver cups seem to be growing just a little bit each time I see you as well. So we raise our glasses high and we chant, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen, Amen. L'chaim. You know the song from Fiddler on the Roof, Miracle on Miracles? You see before you a nice new squishy challah. And it smells great. And I take a piece of this challah, and hold it up. If I hold it down here, maybe it's more visible. And with the wine in hand as well, I chant, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Oh, may it be a sweet new secular year. As we say in the Passover Pesach Haggadah, the rites are observed in full, but the service is not yet complete. And we're certainly not talking about a cup of Elijah or anything like that, but we are talking about one more prayer on the last page of your Sidurim, the Adon Olam. Please join me. Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yatzir Nivra Le'eit Na'asa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hovem V'hu Yiyem V'tif Ara V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni Laham Shilom Lahach Biram V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'mizra V'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzor Chevli V'et Tzara V'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi V'yom Ekra V'yado Afkir Ruchi V'et Ishan V'ayira V'im Ruchi Geviyati Adonai Li V'lo Ira. I leave you with the most heartfelt wish for a beautiful couple of weeks until we meet again. And we'll leave you with this priestly Aaronic blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's face unto you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom.